In this video, we're going to look at forming quadratic equations from their roots. So we can see here the roots of this quadratic equation are x is equal to 5 and x is equal to minus 3. And if you've looked at the quadratic equation videos, you'll know that to get the factor, we bring the 5 across. So we have one of the factors, and we bring the 3 across, and we have the other factor. And if we multiply the two factors, we get the quadratic equation. So we get x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 15 is equal to 0. X squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. And this minus 15 is this number here where it crosses the y-axis, and the roots are where it crosses the x-axis. So if we're given the roots, this is one way to form the equation. Create the factors, multiply them out, and we'll get our quadratic. But there actually is an easier way. All quadratic equations are in the form x squared minus x times the sum of the roots plus the product of the roots. And this is something that you will need going forward as we get into more difficult levels of algebra. So let's have a look at the sum here. We have 5 and minus 3. Add them together and we're going to get 2. Multiply them, we get minus 15. So the product and the sum. So we fill this in, we get x squared minus x times, now if it's a minus sum, it'll become a plus, and if it's a plus sum, which we have here, we have a plus 2, so it's minus plus 2, which is minus x times 2. I'll just write it like this for now, and then plus the product. Well, we can see the product is actually a minus, so we have minus 15 equals 0. So we get x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0, same as what we got up here. So you can choose either method to do this question. So let's have a look at another example, and then I'll get you guys to test yourselves with a few of these. So the roots are 3 and minus 2. What's the sum of 3 and minus 2? 3 minus 2 is equal to 1, and the product 3 multiplied by minus 2, which is equal to minus 6. So we have x squared minus the sum of the roots, so minus 1x minus x minus 6 equals 0. Nice easy way to form the quadratic equation when you're given the roots. They're both pluses. We get the sum is equal to 10, 3 plus 7. The product is equal to 21. So you get x squared minus 10x plus 21 is equal to 0. And if we do just a little sketch of that, 3 and 7, they're both on the right hand side, on the positive side of the x-axis, so this is only a little sketch. And it will go through the y-axis over here at plus 21 eventually. So you can see here, when both of the roots are on the positive sense of the x-axis, we get a minus number here and a positive number here. So try and identify some of these patterns. The only times these can change is when we have a fraction as one of the roots. So let's have a look at see when we have a fraction. So the roots are minus a half and a third. Well, let's start it like this. Let's write out what the roots are. Minus 1 over 2. Now, if we simplify this, we're going to get 2x is equal to minus 1. So 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. And that's one of the factors. So we do it this way first. Then we get x is equal to 1 over 3. So 3x is equal to 1. 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. So these are my factors. And you may find it easier to do it this way when you have fractions in them. You're not a fan of adding fractions and multiplying them. So if we multiply 2x plus 1 by 3x minus 1, we're going to get 6x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So you're going to get 6x squared plus x minus 1 is equal to 0. We use the other method, the sum of the roots is minus 3 over 6 plus 2 over 6. We need the same denominator, which is equal to minus 1 over 6. The product is minus 1 over 2 by 1 over 3, which is minus 1 over 6 as well. So we're going to get x squared minus the sum of the roots. I'll write it out again. Minus x times the sum of the roots. Let me squeeze that in. Minus x times the sum. I'll just write sum plus the product. So when we have a minus sum of the roots, here it becomes a plus. So we're going to get x squared plus 1 over 6 times x minus 1 over 6 equals 0. And how does this then relate to this guy? Well, you can see we want to get rid of the fraction, so multiplying everything by 6, we're going to get 6x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. So you may prefer the factor method, or you may prefer this x squared minus x times the sum plus the product. Comes in really handy in complex numbers and questions like that when we get to leaving cert. So it's a lovely piece of information to have, makes forming these quadratic equations really simple. Okay, so pause the video and try this question. The roots of a quadratic equation, x squared plus bx plus q equals 0, are 5 and minus 7. Find 1, the sum of the roots, 2, the product of the roots, 3, the values of p and q, and 4, sketch the quadratic. So this is just dressing up this question, a really simple short question, and making it look like it's longer. So the sum, 5 minus 7 equals minus 2. The product, 5 multiplied by minus 7 is minus 35. So we're going to have x squared. The sum is a minus, so it's going to become a plus. 2x minus 35 equals 0. So p is equal to 2 and q is equal to minus 35. So you guys are brilliant at these at this point. Sketch it. Now when you're sketching it, you don't need to worry about where or what the scale is. So let's just sketch it like this. We have a plus and a minus. We have a 5 and a minus 7. So these are the roots. X is equal to 5. Be careful not to write the minus 5 or the 7 over here. So, and minus 7. And this number here, minus 35. Now, I've deliberately not done it to scale here. It's just a sketch. If you're asked to sketch, what they're looking for is the 3 points at where this quadratic will cross over the axes. So that's it sketched. That's it solved. And that's a really easy question. Do one more of these, and then you should be able to master forming quadratic equations from their roots. So again, pause the video, try this question. The roots of a quadratic equation, x squared minus 10x plus c are equal roots. Find c and sketch the quadratic. Okay, so you should be able to identify that. If we have x squared minus 10x, to get x squared minus 10x and the roots are the same, we'd have to have x minus 5 by x minus 5 to give x squared minus 5x. Now you don't need to multiply it out if you know how to do it, plus 25, but it does give us c. So we can see here we're going to have x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. Now this is what's called a double root. So if we can try and draw a straight line, it would help. So I'm just going to do a small version of this. A double root just touches off the x-axis at one point, and it's going to come down and around, and this number is 25. So that's it sketched. Bring it down right to the x-axis, switch it off at one point, double root. This is where b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. Let's just check that, and this is your quadratic formula. It's just a little bit of extra knowledge. B squared, so minus 10 to be squared, minus 4 by a by c is 100 minus 100, which is equal to 0. So when you have equal roots, b squared minus 4ac is always equal to 0. So hopefully you've mastered roots of quadratics and sketching and forming the equations. If you haven't, go through the video again and practice the questions.